requested for this session, right? So, would you like to reiterate what are your expectations from this session?
Right. Like I know when I speak about API in general is very, very vague. But then because this is our BA community, I wanted to know from a BA's role in the API life cycle, what and all we should be looking at. So if we can start from there, then I'm sure I can come up with, the challenges which we should be looking for, because BA, as per me, is a functional role, and what we are talking about is a backend technology here. So, how much uh, should a BA know, and how much BA can contribute in this kind of projects, which could also help in phrasing the interview questions and so on and so forth.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I understood. So okay. Let me ask you all three of you a question, right? Um, if I say a word integration, yeah, nothing more, nothing less, just the word integration. What do you understand? What's the English meaning of the word integration?
I would say integration is a communication between two systems or two or more systems. Or I could say that integrating it to one system is integrating to the other system. It's like linking. So some information which you need from, let's say, system B, if you want it in system A, you would integrate. They would be integrated to get that information.
Yeah, so you're absolutely correct. So integration is a process wherein two systems communicate with each other, right? So integration can be one way, integration can be two way. When I say one way integration, it means you are just sending the information to the other system and that's it. You're not expecting anything back. But if you're saying two way integration, it means you're sending some input and you are getting some output out of it. Yes. Is it clear so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there are different ways of integrating two systems. One of the ways is API. When I say API, API stands for Application Programming Interface. Yeah, and as you suggested, it's something technical in nature. It's not something a BA should be worried about. Yeah, what is API? What is how is it integrating with other system, or what's going on behind the scenes? It's not something that a BA should be looking at. But what BA needs to understand is what is my input, what is my output. Yeah, with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. And as I said, it's one of the ways of integrating. Yeah. Can you suggest or think about some other way with which we can integrate two systems? Have you ever worked on any projects, or have you come across any integrations where you have not used APIs? So I'm just, bringing it on the table. That's not the topic for today. What I'm trying to say is there are other ways as well, but we will be focusing on API. But, just to make you understand about integration projects. So I wanted to highlight this point as well. Um, so can you think of some the way of integrating two systems?
Nothing is coming into my mind right now.
Yeah.
Maybe sending out a payload from one system to other system.
So when you say payload, right? So that's a
Yeah.
request, or that's a request you are sending. So that's again API.
Again, APIs. Okay.
Yeah, API way
Or
of
say,
communicating, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
polling, for example.
I'm sorry, pooling.
Polling. So message polling.
Huh.
So every time there is a
So the messages that you are sending, right? That's again API
Mhm.
communication. You are communicating with other system via APIs. So you are sending a message, you are sending a
uh,
request, like that, right?
not necessarily APIs, but there could be a format of messages, let's say XMLs or JSONs. They need not be APIs.
Mm-hmm.
So just sending out as a communications as in a form of payloads from one system to other, pushing it through.
Yes. So it's kind of a force pushing without
Yep.
integrating between the two systems. Yeah,
Correct.
that's
Correct. Yeah.
correct. So one of the projects which I have recently worked on or maybe currently working on. So what we are doing is we are using Excel files. Okay. And all we are doing is there is an Excel file we are creating, placing it in one location. The other system is picking up that Excel file, directly uploading, updating it in their system. And then in a response, they are giving us another Excel file. And we are picking up that file and directly making a, uh, update in the database. There is no direct connection between the two systems, but we are still integrating the two systems, right? So I think you are also referring to something like this only, that you are creating a file, giving it to the other system is consuming that file, maybe directly updating their database, and then again as part of a response they are giving you an Excel file back. So that's another way of integrating two systems. So what I'm trying to say is integration can happen in n number of ways. We talked about two ways. One way is where you are directly making an update in the database. Second way we talked about is just directly pushing up the data. Yeah, and the third way which we are going to focus on today is APIs. When we say APIs, we are saying one system will be sending a request to another system, and in return will be receiving a response from the other system. With me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone would like to share any of their their experiences or examples where they have seen the workings of API, or can you give me an example which we can work through? Which we will take an example today, where two systems are integrating with each other, and there is a communication happening between the two. So can you guys give me an example?
Probably I
For a
can.
non-API example, Shipra, I think the out-of-office acknowledgement emails that we receive, I think that's the most common and fundamental example of a non-API where a system pushes a mail and then get an automatic response acknowledgement saying the person is out of office.
So here it's a same system that is doing it, right? So you are you are using the Microsoft Office itself, and automatic emails are a function of the same system. So when we talk about integration, we are talking about integration between two different systems. Yeah. So as you are correct, it's an example of a non-API. But yeah, let's talk about API. So and in an example where two systems are involved.
I can provide one example
Mhm.
where, let's say, there are two microservices communicating within one large system, or I would say more than two microservices communicating. And I just wanted to grab information from some upstream component, from other component. I'll use a different API methods as per my requirement. Let's say I would use a post method to insert a data into a component, and I would use a get method to fetch the data. So basically we use APIs for a communication within the components inside a system. So we will call them as resources. So in that context, we use APIs mostly.
If I may give another example, which is more like, say, we have a form uh, for verification of a PAN card information to the um, government's site, and we give these information so that the client PAN card is verified. So we submit the form, and that goes and hits the government's sites and points. Would
Mhm.
that be considered as an example?
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
take that example, right? So, for example, we are filling up our income tax return in India, and as part of the ITR verification, it asks you, we want to verify your Aadhaar details, and if it matches with your PAN card details or not, and you say yes, please verify, and use The moment you say yes, please verify, the system sends you an OTP. You receive the OTP on your phone. You enter that OTP in the system, and then system will do the verification and say your ITR has been filed. Yeah. So your income tax website is interacting with maybe Aadhaar UIDAI website or Aadhaar system. Yeah. That's the example you quoted, right, Anusha?
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's just the
Mhm.
verification. This is good. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take that example, right? So here, what is happening? In here, you are agreeing for a verification using your Aadhaar details. So when you click on yes, what system is doing behind the scenes is it is identifying you. Who are you? So it's Anusha or Shipra or Sai Charan or Jay, and then system is fetching out the details of the person. So system is saying, okay, Shipra is agreeing to verify what is Shipra's Aadhaar number. So system within ITR's website, I have entered my Aadhaar number. So, and then system is saying, okay, what is Shipra's date of birth entered in my system? Okay, what is what other details are verified? So let's take these two details only. Yeah. So what is the date of birth and what is the Aadhaar? Full name, last name, and what is the Aadhaar number that I have in my system. And then behind the scenes, a request is being created. And as part of the request, what system is doing is system is connecting to Aadhaar website and saying, Shipra with so and so date of birth, with so and so Aadhaar number, with this first name, this last name, has asked for verification. Yeah. So that's a request that has gone. And as a result, what they have, Aadhaar website has done is they have sent an OTP. Yeah. So that's a response that has been sent over to my messages. And when I enter a message again, another request is going and it is saying, okay, for the earlier request that we have sent across, this is the OTP user has provided to us. And then what Aadhaar website is saying in the response, it's saying yes, the details matches with the details I have in the system and the OTP matches. So you can mark this person as verified. Or the response could be, oh, we didn't find a match in our system, so this person is still not verified. There is a discrepancy. And once the ITR website receives this discrepancy, they will give you a error message saying that your details did not match. You have to submit your ITR 5 manually via post. Yeah. So that's how the process goes. So here we have seen an example of a request and a response. Yeah. Any questions?
Just a couple of here. So you said about the OTP. So what we understand with the OTP part would be there would be an API that would be more so for an authentication purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So authenticate the person there. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So are we sending an API to authenticate the person and then verify the? So I'm trying to understand how many times the APIs or how many different types of APIs were used here.
Okay. So if we talk about different type of APIs, so there is a request which was sent by ITR to ask Aadhaar website to send the OTP. So that's one request that has gone, and another request has gone from Aadhaar website to the user's mobile phone as a message that this is the OTP you need to provide. The third request has gone from ITR website to say this is the OTP user has provided. And then in the response, which is a kind of a fourth interaction, the Aadhaar website has said pass or fail. Yeah.
Okay. So right likewise we have got like 3 main requests were sent. So for these 3 main requests, was there 3 separate API or in one API you can consume all these 3 requests?
There will be separate request formats. So each
Okay.
request will have their different format, right? So for example, you are creating a record in the system. So there will be a create request. Yeah. Then you are saying, okay, I have created the record, but I want to update it now. So when you update the same record, you cannot send a create request to other system, right? Right? Because the other system will then keep on creating new entries in their system. Now you will say I want to update. So there is a update request. Yeah. So the examples that Sancharan took some time back. So post. So post something in the system. So that's a post request. Get. Get is something where you are trying to get the details out of the other system. So you are trying to search for something. Yeah. So you are saying, okay, this is the ID. Can you fetch me the details? So there's a component within the ITR website where they would have said, for Shipra, get me the details. Get me the Shipra's date of birth, get me Shipra's Aadhaar number and other details. Yeah. So there is a get request. So there are different type of request formats that would have been created as part of the API library, you can say. Yeah. And each
Yeah.
request has their own, purpose. So create has a purpose of creating something, update has a purpose of updating something, get has a purpose for getting out something.
So if I may say, let's call that API as authenticate,
Hmm.
and it would have three requests, and each. I mean, not the three requests, but what I'm trying to understand is the HTTP methods which you have said right now, the CRUD operations, that for individual, I'm not sure how to put it in a good word, like ITR request is sent for an OTP, right? So there will be one API for that, and then you have four. Assume that there are four CRUD operations there. For Aadhaar request to the OTP, which goes to the
You
mobile.
don't need all the for CRUD operations, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is according to get or post, whatever is applicable there. Uh, for each these three activities, this will be in one API named authenticate, or would I have authenticate one, OTP mobile one, other website one? That's what I'm trying to understand.
No, so when you are interacting with the Aadhaar website, you're sending one request. Yeah. And the type of request will be different. So when you are saying, Shipra is having this date of birth and this Aadhaar number. So that's one request you are sending to Aadhaar website. Okay. And then Aadhaar website, what it is saying is, okay, I have received this request and this is the request ID. So let's say request ID is 123. Now you are sending another request where another request is saying for ID 123, OTP received is 123456. Yeah. So that's a different request altogether. I don't need to send Shipra again. I don't need to send Shipra's date of birth and Aadhaar details again. Yeah, I don't know how they have created it, but what I'm trying to say is different requests will have their own different functions. So each request will have a function of its own, and it gives an instruction to the other system what to do. Yeah. So the request itself will comprise of the data only. It will only say Shipra date of birth this, Aadhaar number this. But this request needs to tell the other system what is expected out of it, right? So
Right.
authentication is expected out of it. Or it is also possible that someone in ITR website has said, these are my details, but I don't have an Aadhaar number. So, tomorrow from your PAN, from your ITR website, let's say you give a functionality to generate the Aadhaar number as well. So then in that case, you will say these are the details, create an Aadhaar number for this person. So that's another type of request altogether. So
Yeah.
you have to tell what is the purpose of the of this data, and that is what your request heading will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm all guessing here because I've not worked on this application where ITR and Aadhaar websites are interacting with each other. But to the best of my judgment, this is how they should be doing it.
Yeah, no worries. It makes sense now. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Any questions from anyone else? Yeah, Sai, do you have any question, Jay?
No,
No, all good,
questions.
Shikha. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So when we say API is a interface. Yeah, application programming interface. So when we say interface, it means this is the format or this is the template in which I am expecting the request to come through, and this is the response I'm going to give back to you. Yeah. So as a BA, you don't need to worry about how API works. All you need to know is what should I send, what should I send as a request, or what should I receive as a response. Yeah. So for example, if I am working on an insurance application, yeah, and this is, let's say, a policy administration system wherein an underwriter is logging a contract details, and then there is an integration with the pricing system. So as a request, I should be saying, I'm sending you the contract details, uh, send back the price to me. So as an input, I will be sending you contract details. As a response, I will be getting the pricing, the premium amount I need to charge. If you are in a banking or sorry, e-commerce application, right? So you are saying, I'm the person has made an order, and submit this order and send it to the warehouse maybe. Yeah, so the warehouse might be having their own inventory management system wherein they are keeping all the track of these are the items I have, and they might be receiving an order from a website like Amazon. So if you are in e-commerce, you should know that what request the system will be sending. So Amazon will be sending the order details, who placed the order, what is the delivery address, what is the billing address, what is the amount they have received, so on and so forth, and what response will be there. So the response could be acknowledgement of receiving the order, that yes, we have received the order, and uh, you know. Uh, regular updates on the order, that now order has been dispatched, order has been delivered, order has been returned. Yeah, so these kind of interactions can happen between the two systems. So if you are in banking, your examples will be different. If you are in other domains, your examples will be different. Yeah. So as a BA, you need to know where, or what where the two systems, or which two systems can interact, and how. You don't need to go into the technical details. Okay, what is my request format, what is my response format, what is get, post, create and update. You don't need to go into those details, but as a business analyst, you need to know what possible kind of use cases my system will be having. Yeah, so if it's an insurance application, I might be sending um, contract details, and in a response I might be getting a pricing out of it. Yeah, or I might be sending this information to my financial system, and in response I may be receiving an acknowledgement, yet yes, this information has been posted. Yeah, so like that, you need to be aware of it. And when you are really working on an integration project, that time you will be carrying out detailed analysis on what all information we will be sending, what all information we will be receiving, and when we receive the information, what to do with that information. Yeah.
I guess, Shukra, I understand this much part,
Hmm.
because basically, if I'm not involving a back-end system, for example, from a only a front-end part, I understand this goes as a normal what we do as in business analysis.
Hmm.
If I go a bit more, or maybe step back a bit, um, I would like to know more on the part where, say, we have agreed upon, we understand from the solution design time that yes, there is an API. We need an API, because obviously we won't be knowing if we need an API. So all these discussions with the tech teams agreed upon. From that point time, maybe I'm interested more on to know the timing of our work deliverables as a BA for these kind of projects, plus the information we gather from these kind of discussions, right? So, for example, that the thing that is coming into my mind would be, say in the solution design, we come to know that okay, this is the API, here's the documentation, go through the documentation because this is the APIs, or this is the request and response you would get from this API. I'm assuming that would be the way to know about what this kind of integration would produce, and what kind of data we have to send it to the other system. So for that, we would have these requirement gathering. Now, this is my whole understanding, but if you want to add more or make it more clear or refine it, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So let me, give you a walkthrough of a BA involvement in an integration project from scratch till delivery. Yeah, that's what you are looking for, right?
That would be awesome. Yes, thanks.
Okay. So, assuming I am a business analyst, and recently I've been allocated to a project wherein they are saying, okay, these two systems will be interacting with each other. First of all, that's an obvious question: which two systems will be interacting with each other, right? So they will be saying, okay, we have finalized this so and so system, and this is yours. You will be working on one system for sure. So you will be on one side of the system, and then they will be saying, okay, we will be interacting. We want interaction to happen with this XYZ system. So let's say you're working on A system, and they'll say we want integration with B system, and that's the step 0. Yeah. Nothing has been discussed about data or what to do and what not to do. They'll just inform you, okay, these are the two systems interacting with each other. Yeah. So the first step that you will be doing as a business analyst is to engage with your business clients, and then the business from the business users, what you will be saying, understanding from them as part of requirement elicitation is why we are integrating it, what is the purpose of integration, what is expected out of this integration, so on and so forth. Yeah, you don't worry about request response at this stage. You don't need to do that. So first thing, you need to understand the business purpose or the business objective of the integration. Why we are doing it. So let me take an example. Let's say there is a KYC application. And this KYC, what is KYC? Know your client, right? We all know the abbreviation. So this know your client applications, what they do is they provide you details about the person that you have sent across. So if I send Shipra Gupta to a KYC application, the KYC application will tell me, okay, Shipra Gupta has usually it is done for organizations, not for individuals. Yeah, because individuals will have this personal information clauses and all. So for, let's say I say there is an organization, let's say Amazon. Yeah, and I say, okay, tell me about Amazon. So, or Google or Microsoft. Yeah, and this KYC application, what it will do is it will tell you, okay, this Amazon is having a building in so and so cities, is having a rating of so and so, so Standard and Poor's rating is so and so, Dun and Bradstreet rating is so and so. So it gives you all the ratings, and it basically tells you whether you can trust this individual or not. Yeah. Public details, not confidential or private details, but it will tell you public details which are available about that organization, so that you can make a decision whether to grant a loan to this person or not, whether to give insurance to this person or not, or this organization here, this company or not. So that's a KYC application. So this KYC application will give you the details. So as a BA, and step 1, I'm trying to understand, okay, what kind of application I am working on. So let's say I'm working on an application wherein, I will be giving out loans to individuals. So my application is a loan management system, for example. But what is the other application and what this other application does? So this other application is a know your client application, and it provides me details of the organizations who have come to the client for asking for loans. Yeah. So that's the objective. So now third question is, okay, when I want to interact with this KYC application, what information I want to send across? Yeah, so I want to send across the details of the people who have come to us for loan. Yeah, and what details? That's the something for later. Yeah, I don't need to dig into the details in step one only. At this stage, I'm just trying to understand from high level what is happening. Yeah. So I will be sending out the details of the organization which has come for loan to the other system. Okay. So once I send the details, what is expected out of the other system? Yeah. So other system will provide me details like their Standard and Poor rating, or which how many cities they have their branches in, and so on. So you'll get some key points or very very high level idea of what information will be receiving. You will be receiving. Okay, next you will be asking, okay, once I receive this information, what I'm supposed to do with this information? Yeah. So client may say, okay, I want you to show this information to me in a pop-up window, or on the side panel, something like this. Yeah, I want to see this information. You may not make that design decision then and there, but they'll tell you, I want you to show me this information. Yeah. Okay. I'll show you the information, but do you want me to, restrict system from doing something? Or, are you also looking for some business rules and validations in the system? Then the person will say, yes, definitely. If others other KYC application is flagging the person as red, then do not allow me to issue a loan to this person. Right? So in your step one, you have gathered the entire, end-to-end process between how the interaction between two systems will happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Very high level. Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
High level. Yeah. So, but you need to understand the, end-to-end process. So that's your step one. Yeah. In your step two, you start engaging with the other team. So you start engaging with the KYC team. Yeah, there will be a BA at their end, or at least there will be some, SPOC, single point of contact at the other end. So you ask your client to introduce you to the key people from the KYC application side. You won't directly reach out to them, right? Because you are working for your client, and your client has brought them into picture. So you ask, whatever communication will happen, you communicate it through your client. So that's the basic rule. Don't start interacting directly between the two of you, and the client is completely in dark what you guys are doing. Don't do that. So every communication should handle, or should you keep your client in CC when you are interacting or working with the other teams.
Right. Shipra, if I may interrupt here a minute. So now that I know that these are my stakeholders, I would have these interactions or the workshops with them. I agree on that. But even before we go to these kind of workshops, we do have some reference to some kind of documentations, right? To be prepared for, or to have something in hand. Now, what kind of documentations would you be referring to at this point before meeting these stakeholders?
No, so you are not meeting the stakeholders. You are just identifying the stakeholders at this stage, right? So once your client introduces you to the stakeholders, the next step you will have is to ask for the template, the request template and the response template. So basically what you will be asking them, is there a documentation which will give me a list of fields which I can send across as in the request. Yeah. So you want to share the details of an organization which has come for loan, right? But you don't know which information the other system allows you to send through. So they will have their this document wherein they would have listed out, it will be a mix of technical and functional document. Yeah, but it will give you a list of fields which you can send in the request, and it will give you a list of fields depending on the integration. Sometimes the integration is such that one week integration, or sometimes the integration is just yes and no, or pass or fail kind of an integration. In that case, you don't worry much about the response, yeah, because okay, I'm going to get a go ahead, like Aadhaar system telling the ITS system that yes, this person is authenticated. Yeah, it's just a boolean. Either you pass the authentication or you don't pass the authentication. Some systems are more work differently, wherein they'll give you more information. So the KYC example we are going through, the system, they'll tell you, okay, in the response, what we can give you is this rating, number of branches. If you want, we can give you details of all the branches, addresses of all the branches, like that. Yeah, number of employees, or how they have what are their budgets and things like that, right? So depending on the system, you will be asking them for a documentation on request and response. Yeah, that will be your step 2. Okay. In step 3, once you have received the request and response, and once you have gained a high level understanding of the end-to-end flow, now what you'll do is you'll start the mapping. In terms of mapping, you will, what I mean by mapping is, so you are saying request file, yeah, and the other system is saying, as part of the request, we can receive these 50 data points, yeah, about the other organization. Now, what you have to do is you have to look into your system, the loan management system, and check out, are you really capturing all those 50 data points? Yeah, it is possible that you might not be capturing all the details. You might be capturing only 20 data points. Yeah. Then you start engaging with your business users and start saying to them that, okay, the other system wants an address. So which address should I send them? Should I send them your home office address, or should I send them your registered address, or should I send them different addresses depending on from where you are sending the request? Yeah, so if you're sending the request from London office, send the London address. If you're sending the request from India office, send the India address, right? So the system is expecting an address. Which address am I supposed to send through? So that's a kind of a discussion you will start having with your business users. Okay, then another kind of discussion you may have is, okay, they allow you to send, the key personnel name, but I don't see that you are capturing key personnel in your system. Is this information you want to start capturing now? And do you want us to create a field to capture this information and send us through, or do you want us to send this information as blank? And now if they say, okay, we don't want to capture this information, send it blank, and the other system says, no, you can't do that, it's a mandatory field. Yeah, then you start liaising with the two parties and say, figure out what to do. So these kind of interactions will start happening, and that's all part of the mapping exercise you are doing, wherein you are mapping your system fields to the request fields. And that's one of the major deliverable of any integration project from a BA side, a mapping document, wherein on your left side, you will be noting down all the request fields that the other system can consume. And on the right side, you will be suggesting which field from your system should, go into that field. And if there needs to be any additional logic or, any transformation that needs to happen. So this mapping exercise is the next big thing you will be doing.
So, Shipra, if I may ask, what would be the timeline? What would be the realistic timeline to complete this data mapping? Like,
It
let's
depends
say
on
it's
the project to project, right? So I have seen a pricing kind of an integration where you are sending the contract data, and other system will be sending you the premium. So they wanted to send across some 200-300 fields, and that took 1 year. And I worked on another project wherein we were, sending some 300, 400 fields, and we were able to map it in 2 to 3 months. So it will depend. So some systems, so they only ask for 4 5 data points, and it might just take you a day to finalize it. You never know. Depends on system to system. There's no um, average timeline which I can suggest.
Yeah, yeah, please continue. Makes sense.
Yeah. So any questions so far before I continue? No? Okay. So now as a step 4, what you will start doing is you will start, start doing impact analysis. So for example, if you say the other system is telling you the person is red and you want to, stop the user, then you need to provide a provision in the system. So first of all, you will need a validation in the system, right? Which will say, okay, um, you can't give loan to this person. Then you need to see if there is an impact in your existing system. So you have to close out the process, right? So if you can't give the loan, you can't approve the loan, what next? So maybe you need to give a decline option to decline the loan, right? And this option is not present, so you need to write a story to say, okay, I should be able to decline the loan. Yeah. You need a story for adding the validation. So you'll start doing the impact analysis, and start logging the stories for this. There will be one story for mapping, or sending a request, and one story for receiving a response, wherein you will be attaching your mapping sheet. But as part of step 4, you will be analyzing your system, and to see that the end to end processing is complete, and if there are any other changes which are required in the system. So I talked about key personnel field. So that's that the other system allows, and your system doesn't have it. So let's say business users say, "Oh, that looks interesting, can we add it in the system, please?" Yeah, so you'll get that field added in the system before sending it across. So that's an impact on your system, isn't it? So as part of step 4, you will be closing out the loop, or you will be closing the gaps, yeah, whichever are available in the system. So you have to ensure that by the end of step 4, uh, your requirements cover end-to-end processing as client wants. Yeah.
So, Shweta, if I may ask,
Mm.
at this point, when you're taking about the user story, are we clear that it could be a front end or it could be a back end story?
So as I said, there will be one story wherein you will be saying, as I have done the mapping exercise with the request file, so create a request, as per this file. And there will be one story which will say, once I send this request, in the request story, you will also mention the trigger. Yeah, what triggers the request? So when user clicks on so and so, then send the, make a connection with the other system, and send the request as mapped in the mapping file attached. And then there will be another story, or you can cover it in the same story, that as after you know after making the connection, wait for a response, and this response should come up with so and so data. And at that point, you will also talk about exception handling. So for example, if you don't get a response which you are expecting, so for example, you were expecting red, green, or yellow, whether it's the person is red to give the loan, and or green to give the loan, or there are some doubts around that person. So yellow is the color, right? But what if you start receiving purple or orange? Yeah. So very, very poor example, but yeah. So but if you receive 1 2 3 in the response, yeah, that's not a response you expect. How will you handle that response? So as part of step 4, you will also be looking at exception handling or response handling. So that will be two things. But other than that, the other stories will comprise of what changes your system will undergo to ensure that the integration is successful.
So the two stories what we're talking about from the front end part would be the obviously the UI stories with the functionality, and the back end story would be mostly the what the system or let's say the developer would need to develop to get
So
this feature?
it will be one story, right? Why you are saying backend story? So user story means from user perspective. So all the user stories are functional user stories. Yeah,
Yeah, that,
even your mapping is a functional aspect. Yeah, so when you are saying, so what your story will be something like, right? So given the loan, the person asking for a loan details have been captured in the system. When my application user request or click on authenticate button in the system for the user, for the loan, loan asking person, then connect with the KYC application and ask KYC application to give a response. Yeah, in the one of the three colors, green, red, or yellow. Yeah, so that's your functional story. Now, after adding this functional story, you'll provide the details. So after making the connection, the connection request should comprise of details such as loan asking person's name, first name, last name, address, date of birth, date of establishment, like that, right? So what details you want to send to the loan, to the KYC application, for more details, or to get a list of these fields or the data points, refer to the attachment or the mapping sheet. Yeah. And once the response expected is red, green, or yellow, but if you receive an orange response or a purple response, do this, do that. Yeah, so that's all part of your one big functional story, or you can split it out into different stories as you wish.
Okay, so now I get it. So this is a one big functional story. Depending on the amount of work it has to be done, I think it gets split into front end and back end. That's how it happens, I guess. The
Again, I'm
complexity.
saying you don't need to worry about the back end, what is happening in the back end. The data points that you're sending across, they are fields in your system, right? In the front end.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's not like, something is out there in the backend only and you are sending directly from the backend. There is a field in the system which you are sending across, right? From the front end. So that's a user angle in there. So there's one story which will say, after I sent, so let's say after I send Shipra's details, the system will tell me whether the Shipra is red or green. Yeah, that's functional behavior. That's a user behavior. That's a user theory,
I'm
right?
not sure, Shikha, it's just the project how it works, but I do see that the BAs are involved also in some kind of backend stories. That's why I was more concerned. But you're right. I always think user story from a functional requirement perspective, but I have also seen that there are user stories wherein we split it in a way that it becomes a front end and a back end. And normally, whenever there is an exchange of data with, at this point in the acceptance criteria, we do write what kind of field is moving, or the data is moving from that side, that one system to the other system, or what you're expecting. These kind of detailed information is given at this point in the back end system, and not necessarily in the front end, because at the front end we would be something like, as a customer I want to submit my loan and so forth, but what is related to that from a back end perspective we have to write. I've seen that. Should I question it if it is a functional user story? I still don't know, but maybe the team wanted more elaboration on that. That's why I'm still confused on that part. But that said, I totally agree with you that we should be writing from a perspective of a user, and that has to be elaborate with all the business rules added to the acceptance criteria.
See, there's no hard and fast rules for a BA, right? What BA should do or what not do, right? And in today's dynamic world, really there is no say for even not only BAs but for anyone. that I can't do this, I can't do that, right? Right now, the situation is you have to be all rounder, right? You have to say it, you have to become a yes man and say, okay, yes, I'll do it. So let's not talk about, what is ideal way, or what should be the correct way. Whatever works for the team, yeah, let's do that. So if the team says, okay, can you write it as a front end story, as a back end story, say yes, yeah, okay, let do that, yeah. So right now the situation is like, um, say, be flexible, yeah. So if whatever works for the team, right? So if team says, "Oh, you just give me the mapping sheet, I don't even need user stories," say, okay, yeah, whatever you want to do. So objective is to get a quality delivery, right? the the method doesn't really matter, whether you created one story or whether you created 10 stories, or whether you created front end stories or back end stories. So
Right.
whatever works. Only thing is, everyone should understand what they are doing, and every person's understanding should be documented. It should not be like, your understanding is in emails, or your understanding is over a verbal communication, right? Whatever you understood, whatever you agreed, whatever approach you are taking, everything should be documented. Where it gets documented doesn't matter. You can document it in the mapping sheet, you can document it in the user story, right? But my advice, sincere advice as a BA is, keep documentation. Because I have seen many cases where 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, someone will come to you and ask you, okay, I want to get an understanding of how this system is supposed to work, rather than how system is working. Where can I see it? Yeah. I've seen myself digging around 2 year back, 2 year old documentation, 4 years old documentation, to give an answer. But the good thing was, it was documented. It was not something verbal, because verbal things get lost in the, and get lost in time. No, right now there is so much data all around that it's very easy to lose track of important things. So
Right.
keep
So,
documentation. Yeah, that's important. Whether it's a technical story or a functional story, that hardly matters.
so at this point, if I talk about the deliverables, we have the data mapping document, we have the user stories, we have the process mapping. What other documentations or deliverables will be there?
Those will be the key ones. Other than that, everything is, auxiliary or secondary documentation to support the primary documentation. So if you want to create a end-to-end process diagram, or something to explain, or maybe some example sheets. So whatever you want to create, that will be mainly around these documents only.
And what about the spec, the document spec, API spec, or the API documentation? I know that I've been hearing it like, it should be a technical document, hence it should be done by the team, the technical team. But I also know that there are BAs who also do that. So my question was, have you involved in any of the documentation, API documentation?
Okay, so there are two ways of looking at it, right? So one type of project is what we just talked about, where you are a BA who is trying to integrate the two systems. Yeah. So as a BA, you won't be creating. I'm not sure which API documentation are you referring to, but your key deliverable will be the mapping sheet. Yeah, from system A, this data should go to system B using this method. Yeah, using this mapping. So that is your key deliverable. Another aspect which comes into picture is, for example, you are system B, right? The KYC application that we are talking about. So your application B, and you are saying, I want other systems to be able to interact with my system. Yeah, there is, you don't know what is A could be one system, two system, three system, doesn't matter. But you're working on, your project is on system B, and to provide a capability for other system 1, 2, or 3 to connect with your system, right? So you are working on the KYC application itself in our example. Yeah, in that case, you need to create an API documentation because that's the documentation which other systems will be asking for it. Yeah, so when system one will be integrating with system B, they will say, okay, can you give me the API documentation that is request and response. When system two will come around and they'll say, okay, can you give me a documentation, your API documentation. So remember in step 2 or 3, we asked for a API documentation from the team. So if you are working in a project where you are creating the API documentation, so that's a different game altogether. So that's the documentation which as a BA you will be working on. Yeah.
Right.
So that
So
other
that's
systems can consume that information, and you won't be able to deliver that documentation standalone. You have to involve technical team there because they will be telling you what fields they are introducing in the request, or what other, because API is not only request and response. There are other technical aspects to it as well, right? Which I am not aware of, but those technical details will also go in your API documents.
right. And Shipra, I'm seeing that we have already almost the reach of 1 hour. Are you planning to continue, or should we have a second part for this?
I'm mostly done, but it's up to you. If you think you have more queries for me, we can continue today itself, or we can, schedule another call to discuss further. It's up to you. I don't have any reservations.
Uh, well, I don't know how long it will go because that is an unknown thing. I might need some more information or clarity. But well, my question was, so at one point we say, right, this is the mandatory field for our system, and we
Hmm.
are going to get it from this API for this third party integration, what we had spoke about, right? The first case.
Hmm.
Now, in that part, if this system has to work, like if our system has to work, this is the API's components. Now, there is at that point, don't you think an API, a different API, I mean, or it's a different API, I would say another version of an API is working, hence it should be documented. Will Does that make sense in that concept?
I didn't get your question.
So, so we are integrating two systems, right? So second
Hmm.
systems, endpoints, or whatever. We got it. We are now, we understood this is the field we expect from the second system, right? And this is the response we are, anyway, that is what the response will be. We are getting from the
Hmm.
system, the second system. But the fields are not the same, right? What the second system just gave us the like the it's a library of information,
Hmm.
and we are just ingesting those information to our system, right?
No,
Based on
you are not ingesting your system. You are doing a mapping. Which of the fields in the library you will be sending it across. So in step three, you mapped, right?
yeah.
So the
So that
other system
based
might
on
be, so the other system. So let's say system A is interacting with system B. Yeah, system B says I can consume 200 fields. Now system A, you're a BA for system A, right? And system A says I am capturing only 50 fields. So you map only 50 fields and you leave other 150 fields as blank.
so it's not actually making any changes to an API. It's just our need is I'm just sending this one. This is all I need. It's kind of like that, right? It's like
It's more
trying
like
to.
what all you can take from me, yeah, and what all I can provide to you.
Okay, so in this case, there is no need of a documentation from our end, from system A. We are not documenting any API documentation at this point. We are we have the data mapping field that is enough to tell us what are the what data has been is sending and what we are expecting. That's
Hmm.
what we, right? Okay. Only in the case of developing a new API that might have to create a documentation, API documentation. Is that correct?
Exactly. So this API documentation will provide the details of what API can do and what API cannot do, right?
Hmm. Oh
What
yeah. Okay.
what request it will receive, what response it can give. But it's
Right.
all can, right? You don't need to do, so there will be some mandatory fields, but those fields will be in your system for sure, right? So they don't make a very rigid APIs. APIs are supposed to be flexible. So only maybe name is mandatory. Yeah. But if you have address, you can send the address. If you don't have address and you don't send the address, that's okay as well. Yeah.
Right. So, Shipra, we might need a second session where we talk about this use case where we are developing an API as to what will be the role of a BA in that regards. But thank you so much, Shipra. I now have a clear picture of at least the difference between the two, and how what is the role of a BA in an integration project from that API perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. We can keep an open house on API integrations in the next session. Yeah. So thanks, Anusha. Thanks for being with me. Before we close, any questions from maybe Jay?
Yeah, two things, Shipra. The first thing is I want to comment on the backend documentation. So primarily what I understand is just going by your example of KYC. So when the system requests for example, FICO score or the experience score, the response that we get from FICO or Experian or Sibyl for that matter in Indian context, we document the response that we got in the backend. At the same time, so this is one part of the documentation at the backend. The second part is the business decisioning that has been taken. So, for example, if the FICO score doesn't complement the business requirement, the application will not go forward. The loan request will be rejected. So the business decision taken will also be documented at the backend. So there will be a flag change that will happen in the backend. The case will move from review to rejected. I think these are the documentation that I can quickly think of from a backend standpoint.
No, so it depends. It's not necessarily that the decision is always in the favor of backend, right? It depends on the user or the business users what they want to do. So some users will be like do it in the backend. Why I need to be involved? But there will be other category of users which will be say, oh, you are doing something on the application I was working on. At least tell me what why you are doing it. At least show it to me on screen. So both category of users are out there. So depending on the user, it could be done in the backend, it could be done in the front end as well.
Correct. So my point, Shipra, was the capturing of information, the capturing of responses, the capturing of system decisioning or user decisioning. For example, as an underwriter, I mentioned that this doesn't go past. This is rejected. So the rejection will be captured at the backend. A flag will be changed at the backend. I think this is what the documentation, the backend documentation that Anusha was referring to, as far as my understanding goes.
But you can always provide a user angle to it, right? So even if you're setting up some flag as rejected in the backend, there may be a change in the front end application. So application will become red or blocked, so you can't process anything further on it. Yeah, so you gray down the screen. So it depends on how you are writing it. So everything will have a backend impact for sure. But when we write user stories, we write it from the user perspective or the front end perspective. Yeah, so you ideally technical team should talk about backend details, yeah, what they are doing as part of a user story implementation.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
So from a business analyst, from a user representative perspective, you should try to capture what's the user expectation is. Yeah. Until and unless it's purely backend, so something is happening in the backend only and user is not seeing it in the screen. Until and unless that's the case, better to write it from the user perspective and let technical team worry about what's happening in the backend. Yeah, they can keep it a flag, they can keep it a toggle, or whatever they want to do.
I completely agree with you. So second thing, Shipra, was I'm not sure if this falls under our purview from a functional or technical perspective. So I have written BRDs, but then someone recently asked me, have you written system specification requirements? And I haven't. So if you can spend 1 minute, how do we enrich BRD to a system requirement specification? Maybe an example.
So when you say system specifications, right? So the if someone says me, have you written system specification document? First of all, first thing I'll do is get a clarification what he means by system specifications. So are you talking from a whether you have created a new product altogether, specified the how a new system should be developed, or are you talking about functional requirements wherein you're saying that these are the business requirements I have captured in the BRD, but how these business requirements will be met. So what are the functional requirements associated with the business requirements? So what the other person means by system specifications? Yeah, so other person might be thinking about something else, and you don't start babbling. I also do that. Don't start assuming that the other person means this, right? When someone says system specifications, you first try to get an understanding of what the other person is asking for. Yeah, they might be asking about a new product development. They might be asking from functional requirement perspective, and then give the answer. Yeah. So, do you have any idea what that other
Right.
person
Maybe I
was
did.
talking about when they say system specifications? They might be talking about technical specifications of the system. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. So BRD is business standpoint, and specification requirement is system perspective. Maybe I did not elucidate it well. My apologies.
So they might be talking about functional requirements, right? So how you are solving the business problems. So what changes you are doing in the system. So functionally, how will you implement, or how will you meet the business requirement? You know the hierarchy, right? So on top of the hierarchy is the business problem. Yeah, what business problem the business is facing, or what opportunity the business wants to make use of. So what's the business problem or business opportunity? That's the top of the hierarchy. Next comes objective. So to solve the problem or to make use of the opportunity, what business is using this IT system, but what business objective it wants the IT system to meet. So what's the business objective or the solution objective? So whatever you are going to do, what's the objective of the solution? Third step, or the third thing in the hierarchy, is business requirement, wherein you say, okay, to meet this objective, these are the list of business requirements I want to achieve. And then in fourth in the hierarchy are the functional requirements. For each of these business requirements, I want to have my system modified in such a manner, or the functionally I want the system to behave in this manner so that my business requirements are met. So one business requirement can be associated with n functional requirements. Multiple business requirements will be associated with one business objective, and one business objective will multiple business objectives will be associated with the business problem or the business opportunity. Yeah. And below functional requirements, there are technical specifications. So
technical specifications.
Yeah. So function you want to arrive it, you want to achieve it, but in order to achieve that, technically, I will be doing this. So that's the fifth level. Yeah, but many people confuse between technical specifications and functional requirements. When this is system specifications, they are making a mix of both. Yeah.
So can you give an example, maybe a transition of a requirement to technical specification, in case if you have done? If not, then thank you.
I have done so many, it will be hard for me to pick an example. Okay, let me think about something. Yeah, so let's go back to our KYC application only, right? So business problem is, I don't know whether I should give loan to this person or not. Yeah, I don't know whether I should give loan to Shipra or not. So that's my business problem. What is my business objective is to do a KYC on Shipra so that it can help me decide whether to give loan to Shipra or not. Yeah, that's my business objective. Business requirement is I want to send Shipra's details to KYC application, ABC. and get a get an indicator or indicator whether to send, whether to approve the loan or not. So that's my business requirement. My functional requirement is send out Shipra's details to KYC application, receive response from KYC application as green, red, or orange. In case there is some separate response, handle the response in such a manner. That's a error handling requirement. All these are my functional requirements, right? Then put up a validation in the system. If green, allow Shipra to give a loan to Shipra. If red, don't allow to give a loan to Shipra. So all these are my functional requirements which are meeting my business requirement to get a response from the other system. And then technical specifications come. So if you are saying for send Shipra details to the other system, then technically I will be making a connection. Then I will be sending Shipra's first name, last name, date of birth. Yeah, and I'll be doing this, I'll be doing that. So different things. So that's my technical specifications. Does that answer or make it more clear?
That works. Thank you.
Yeah. So if someone says system specifications, try to figure out, whether they are talking about functional requirements or whether they are talking about technical specifications, or they might very well be thinking about business requirements in their mind. Or, they might be thinking, okay, a new product altogether. So system is very new, and how will you develop new features to it, or, new functionalities from a product perspective. They might be thinking from product perspective as well. So better to get a clarification from them rather than assuming something and then giving a response or saying no specifically that I don't know. You might, it is quite possible that you know about it.
Sure, thank you. That was indeed a technical document. That was so in the business analytics ecosystem, Shipra, I have seen and I've witnessed that the technical it's a technical document, just this technical system specification requirement document, but then that's been named and termed as many different documents. Someone says SRS, someone says TRS. There are many terms to it. Yeah, different organizations use different terms for technical specification requirement.
Agree. There is no standardization. So there's standardization till BRD only, but after that it starts all diluting. Yeah, functional specification document, functional requirement document, technical specification document, some PRDs or other things, right? When it converts to a product. So yeah, the term is very diluted here.
But then I thank you for the response, Shipra, and thank you for taking this up session today. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, thanks for joining in, and sorry for delaying it more, but I wanted to answer your query. So, but yeah, hope to see you again in the next session, and we'll continue our discussion. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks again, Shipra.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.